Good morning, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. This is Rich again, back for your first video blog of the day for Sunday, August 2nd, 2015, around 7:42 in the morning, Berwick, Massachusetts. Nice and sunny day out. Low humidity again. Highs in the 80s. Going to be the last day of low humidity for a while because it's going to be hot and humid again. It's summer. Get out and enjoy summer. And the crickets are coming out soon. And the days are now getting shorter at the end. Soon the sunsets will be before 8 p.m. Some news to report. The Lowell Spinners beat State College by the score of 5-4. And the Seattle Seahawks have re-signed linebacker Bobby Wagner to a 4-year contract extension worth $43 million. And that's about it on the news. My first video blog subject of the day is the continuation of the top 10 list of anything and everything. I've now reached the top 10 greatest Chicago sports play-by-play announcers of all time. This is a very impressive list. Chi-Town has had some of the most classic sports announcers of all time. Many of them were characters and stuff like that. Some went on to national fame. Others stayed in Chicago their entire career. And here they are. Number 10 on this list is Tom Brenneman. Tom was the play-by-play announcer of the Chicago Cubs on WGN for a few years. In the early to mid-90s, he eventually became big for Fox Sports for the NFL and Major League Baseball. Comes in at number 10. Number 9 on this list is Chip Caray. Chip Caray was the Chicago Cubs play-by-play announcer for about 7 years in the late 90s and early 2000s. He replaced his grandfather, Harry Caray, on the telecast. And Chip Caray was very great in Chicago. Number 8 on this list of the greatest Chicago sports play-by-play announcers of all time, Wayne Larrales. He was the longtime play-by-play voice on the radio for the Chicago Bears and Chicago Bulls. He's now the play-by-play announcer of the Green Bay Packers on the radio. Number 7 on this list of the greatest Chicago sports play-by-play announcers of all time, John Rooney. John Rooney was the radio announcer for the Chicago Bulls and the Chicago White Sox. He's also done national telecast for like the radio for Major League Baseball, and also he worked briefly for Fox Sports for baseball in the early part when they had the television contracts. Number 6 on this list of the greatest Chicago sports play-by-play announcers of all time, Bob Elson. Bob Elson was a longtime voice of the Chicago White Sox and Cubs back in the 40s and 50s. Plus, he was the play-by-play announcer on the radio for the Chicago Blackhawks. And he was probably the best White Sox play-by-play announcer of all time. Number 5 on this list of the greatest Chicago sports announcers, play-by-play announcers of all time, Pat Foley. Pat Foley's been the longtime voice of the Chicago Blackhawks. He won the Forrest Hewitt Memorial Award for Hockey Hall of Fame Excellence, and he's probably one of the best hockey announcers of all time. Number 4 on this list of the greatest Chicago sports play-by-play announcers of all time, Ken Hawk Harrelson. Ken has been the play-by-play voice of the Chicago White Sox for over 30 years. He's a former Major League Baseball player. He briefly was the manager of the White Sox in the late 80s, but he's back doing play-by-play for the White Sox, and his famous quote is, "You could put it on the boards." Yes, Ken Harrelson should be, one of these days, get the Ford Frick Award for Baseball Excellence for the Baseball Hall of Fame. Number 3 on this list of the greatest Chicago sports play-by-play announcers of all time, Jim Durham. Jim Durham was the longtime voice of the Chicago Bulls in the 1980s and stuff. He was famous for saying, "Bulls win, Bulls win, Bulls win." He became a nationally voice for the NBA on ESPN radio, and he did some Major League Baseball games on the radio and stuff. He passed away in 2012 at the age of 65. It's sad. Number 2 on this list of the greatest Chicago sports play-by-play announcers is Jack Brickhouse. Jack Brickhouse was the play-by-play voice of the White Sox the Cubs, the Bears, the Bulls. He was a longtime voice on WGN radio and television of the like Cubs. And his famous quote when the Cubs would hit a home run, he says, "Hey, hey, holy mackerel!" And number one on this list of the greatest Chicago sports play-by-play announcers of all time is Harry Carey. Harry Carey was a longtime voice of the Chicago White Sox for 12 years, from 1970 to 1981. Then he went to the south side of Chicago, the north side of Chicago, and was the longtime voice of the Chicago Cubs from 1982 through 1997. And he had a national following because of the superstation WGN, and some of his quotes were "Holy cow" and stuff like that. He won the 1989 Ford Frick Award for Broadcasting Excellence in the Baseball Hall of Fame. He passed away on Valentine's Day 1998, a very sad day in the world of baseball. He was one of the most colorful and character and play-by-play announcers of all time, and he would always do the seventh inning straight at Wrigley Field, singing "Take Me Out to the Ball Game" and stuff like that. It was a Chicago institution. That's about it on that, and that's about it on these video blogs for right now. I'll be back for two more of them. One will be about Tremonte Pizzeria in downtown Lowell, and the third and final video blog of the night will be the personality profile. Tonight's personality profile will be about WWE Hall of Famer and former NWA champion Dory Funk Jr., Terry Funk's older brother. Tell you about him. Tomorrow I'll be doing a recurring series of fantasy booking scenarios for the world of professional wrestling, some storylines that should have happened and stuff, or maybe rebooking pay-per-views and stuff like that. It's going to be a weekly or bi-weekly thing. The first one I'm going to be doing tomorrow will be about rebooking a Horseman angle in 1996 that should have happened between like a Four Horsemen and a Rouge Four Horsemen for WCW. It involved the loose cannon Brian Pillman and stuff, and Ric Flair. It's going to be very, very interesting how this booking scenario plays out. And I used to do fantasy booking years and years ago and stuff like that, but I used former professional wrestlers, current wrestlers, and long-time close personal friends and stuff like that. But these fantasy booking scenarios now are just going to be former wrestling angles and stuff like that, or something that should have happened in professional wrestling. No long-time close personal friends ever in fantasy booking again, because that's history. And keep calm, and I'm a Julie Button Guy, and Molly Rosenblood of Fox 35 Rocks. And in words of Sean Lucha, get out. See you later.